is just so many benefits. I feel for like every hour or benefit that or value I give to open source, I get it back like 10 times.
Hi everyone, welcome. It's our next episode of our SaaS and Tech interviews with our experts, and today we have a very special guest. Our guest today is Jaoude. Hi Eddie, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
Thank you for joining. It's a great pleasure to have you here. So just a couple of words about who are you. So I know you will obviously tell us more about yourself, but what I know and let's say the reputation that I've heard about you is that you, first of all, you're a founder of EddieHub. You are a GitHub Star of the Year. You are one of the top open source contributors on GitHub. And I know for a fact, because I follow you on your social media and I follow you throughout everything that you do, that you preach almost religiously open source culture and community. So, hi Eddie, tell us a couple of words about yourself. Who are you, what you're doing, and whom you're serving?
Thank you so much for that amazing intro. I mean, wow, that was brilliant. I'm definitely gonna share that everywhere on socials because that was epic. Thank you so much. So, as you said, my name is Eddie Jaoude. I'm an open source full stack developer. I provide DevRel services for my clients. I'm a content creator, founder of the open source community EddieHub, and currently I'm working on my open source SaaS platform LinkFree, which allows people to connect their audience with a single link. And it was recently accepted into the GitHub Accelerator program as well, which we recently just finished too.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining our interviews. For the beginning, obviously, I would like to talk about your passion for open source. So can you share with us a pivotal particular moment, if you have that such, or your experience that ignited your love to open source software? When was that moment that influenced you so much that now all your career and contributions to the community connected somehow to open source?
It was a long time ago, but absolutely, I can definitely remember it quite vividly. And it was before the time of Git and GitHub. So I'm kind of showing my age here, but we definitely had open source contributions. We didn't call it pull requests as we do on GitHub. But let's be honest, my first 10 contributions, if not more, were fixing typos in open source until one day a maintainer on the project I've been fixing typos on, who I didn't know, encouraged me to step out of my comfort zone and try and do a little bit more. And this was a long time ago, so I can't remember the project or the features or the actual person. But what I can tell you is having a maintainer from the community reach out and be super supportive and encouraging was really the pivotal moment for me, because this encouraged me to contribute more and more and ultimately start my open source community, EddieHub.
Beautiful. So no regrets since that, no bitter stories.
Absolutely. My only one regret is that I wish I started contributing to open source sooner. But apart from that, yeah, no regrets at all.
So heartwarming. Thank you very much. Well, we see a lot of references to your community involvement. Could you share one particularly heart-giving or funny story about your interactions with the open source community?
Sure. So there is definitely one that comes to mind, and it was right at the beginning of the EddieHub community. This was before I got moderators on the Discord server, when I was answering all the messages myself, and before I created any automations like EddieBot. And I think it's important for me to explain a bit more about EddieBot and give some context. So EddieBot is a Discord bot which checks for non-inclusive language, like gender or race related, and it provides alternatives. It doesn't take any action. It just makes alternative suggestions so we can keep it really friendly in the community, because we strive for EddieHub to be a safe and inclusive environment for everybody. So here I am, right at the beginning of the EddieHub community. I'm trying to build this open source community by myself, and I'm extremely active on the Discord server. And I saw a genuine question from someone in the community asking, is this account Eddie Jaoude on Discord a bot or actually a person? Because I was so rapidly with a high frequency sending out messages and replying to people. So that definitely made me laugh.
With the effectiveness of robot.
Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you for the story. Given your extensive experience in tech, could you highlight some of the most significant changes you observe in the open source landscape over all the years that you're here in this community?
Sure, I've definitely seen things change. As I mentioned, I was on open source before there was Git and GitHub. I would say the biggest change, though, that I've seen is that open source is considered more mainstream. And what I mean by this is the perception of open source has really changed. It's not just about code anymore. It's so much more. It's a place for everyone to collaborate, and it's really welcoming and accessible. We've still got a lot of improvements to do, but people are focusing on those improvements. I mean, it's not just about developers anymore. We're getting technical writers, testers, performance, accessibility. There's just so many different skills. And even more recently, designers are getting involved to improve the design and user experience of project. And it doesn't matter what level or experience people have. Everyone is welcome to join. And those new people to a project and new to tech can really add a lot of value, because they can give a fresh perspective that none of us can do, because sometimes we're too familiar with the technology or the project. But most importantly, it's a place where we can build communities and businesses as well. So many businesses are coming out of open source, which is super exciting.
Nice. And if possible, could you tell, as an extension of this question, what kind of future do you see for open source community? You see that it's getting wide, it's getting richer, that services and people are providing, like, getting wider and wider. So what are the future that you see, like one of possible futures?
It's great to see that companies are realizing open source needs to be sustainable. So a lot of companies, big companies, banks and so forth, are using all these open source tools, but not providing any funding to help these projects. So with things like GitHub sponsors and other programs, it's great to see that companies can now more easily sponsor these projects and help support them, because it needs to become more sustainable, and things are definitely changing in this space. I think the last few years have been super interesting. I think the next 5 years is going to be very, very interesting on this subject.
Looking forward. I guess it's true to say that open source solutions are not a gold mine. Well, simply because we ourselves as Optention, we do sometimes open source some of our tools, and we know that releasing the tool on market, the same tool, we could gain some money, and giving some tools for open source is sort of your position. So what is your main motivation to invest so much of your time? Sometimes it's connected with some of financial costs, and we for ourselves, we give an explanation, but it's connected with our company's value. But so what is your motivation?
I think from an individual single person, they might think, well, if I contribute to open source, they might get a job in the future. There is just so many benefits. I feel for like every hour or benefit that or value I give to open source, I get it back like 10 times. And it might not be in monetary value. It might be in, I've learned something, I've networked with people, I've kind of learned in public. It's almost like content creation. There was just so much overlap with that. And I know people don't think, well, contributing to open source is going to get me the highest paying job in tech. However, I think it does in the long run. I mean, there are so many successful companies that have open sourced their projects or have been valued at millions, if not billions, and being sold for those as well. So open source is kind of synonymous with giving back to the community, which does make us think of volunteering and non-financial gains. Certainly, I love to give back for that reason. And why would I want to keep kind of my skills to myself? I want to share this. And like I said, I feel that I learn so much not just in terms of technical skills, but also collaboration skills, the soft skills, which I think is really, really hard to learn. And we only get better at that by practicing. But I've been able to build a sustainable business from open source and have so many other companies. So I think it's definitely changing. I think doing things in public benefits the company as well, and there are so many ways to make money from open source as well. I think that recently someone counted like 12 different ways, so there are lots of ways to do this, and I feel the collaborating on the code and building a community around the project has so many more benefits to do that.
Beautiful. Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much for that question. It really is inspiring for me. I truly also believe that sharing is caring. And I also believe that, as you said, that once you give away, it's not straight away, but as time pass by, you just see that it's just getting back tenfold sometimes. So finally, in line with your commitment to continuous learning, what's the latest tech trend you're keen to explore further?
This is a hard question. I mean,
you can tell 1, you can tell 3, you can tell 10.
Okay. I mean, everyone's super excited about AI and Web3. I'm actually still really excited and continue to learn about the core fundamentals of what we call as Web 2.0. I mean, there is still so many improvements that I need to learn about things like Next.js, accessibility, security, and community and collaboration. So yeah, I'm not jumping on any of those trending topics on Twitter at the moment. I'm still sticking with the previous topic. I've still got so much to learn, and I'm having so much fun doing it.
Any experiments that you're already involved in?
I think just the LinkFree project. So I'm working on the open source project LinkFree, and we're using Next.js, Tailwind, and Mongo, and a lot of automation, a lot of automated testing, and we've got a lot of community. I think we've had over 2,000 contributions. We've got about 8 maintainers on the project. It's a great way for everyone to learn and collaborate and make those improvements. So it's been a lot of fun. I love working on it every day. I sometimes forget about everything else just because there is just so much going on that I want to get involved in, and it's just not enough hours. Sounds good. The harder round. Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you, Eddie. These were my main part questions, and I guess it would be some very inspiring for some of you. I really hope that more and more people will join our open source community and it grows even bigger. So now, Eddie, let's move to our rapid fire round. Yeah. Your biggest regret. Yes.
Okay, this is perfect. This is perfect. It kind of leads on to what we were discussing earlier.
Yeah.
My biggest regret, and I hope no one else kind of does this, is I wish I started collaborating on open source and learning in public, like sharing what you do and what you learn, your challenges, your successes, your failures, all on socials as well. So I wish I started all that sooner. It's never too late to start, but yeah, I wish I did start sooner.
Nice. How do you define success? What is success for you?
Oh, okay. The questions are getting more difficult. For me, success is, I would love LinkFree to become a self-sustaining platform. We haven't released the premium version yet, so it can't be, but I'd love it to become self-sustained. But also seeing the community members in EddieHub get their dream job that they want, whatever it is, working remotely, working on open source projects full-time for a company or a client. I mean, for me, that feels like a really big success. I get so much motivation when I see other people succeed.
Beautiful. Can you imagine the situation where your priorities will shift from the open source? You're going to be so busy with other projects that are not open source based. And can you imagine the situation where Jaoude will be not open source preacher anymore? Is it possible?
I don't think it's possible because I only do open source projects. Our clients are all open source. we do everything in EddieHub and you know, my company, and we're a team of 3. Everything's in public, and I want to do even more in public. So I think we're going to get even more transparent and so forth. So I don't think that's possible at all. I just have too much fun geeking out with the community. You know, I love their feedback and their fresh perspective, and it's just great to get them involved, and hopefully they enjoy it and they learn something from the process as well.
Awesome. So it's a lifetime open source covenant.
Absolutely. I'm hoping everyone watching comes and geeks out with me on open source, because I know we can all learn from each other and have fun at the same time.
Got it. Gotcha. Hopefully they will. And the very last question for me, if you met 10-year-old Eddie, what would you tell him?
I would probably say, get involved in open source that day. And even if you're not coding, I mean, I was late to the coding kind of world. Even at university, I didn't really know what email was. I didn't really use a computer. So it was very hard for me at university studying engineering. But people can get involved just with a web browser. They don't need to code. They don't need any fancy tools. They don't need any fancy equipment. They can just add so much value by getting involved in the discussion and sharing their thoughts. So I would tell 10-year-old Eddie, get started, get collaborating, and just get geeking out.
Beautiful. So, well, on that beautiful and heartwarming note, I would like to finish our interview. Thank you, Eddie, very much for joining. It was a great pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much for this. I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to geeking out again soon.
Sure. See ya. Thank you.